You're listening to an Airwave Media podcast.
What do you get when you take two childhood friends with a passion for unexplored history and a whole lot of booze?
You get us, Queen's Podcast.
And here at Queen's, we are spilling the tea on all kinds of women from history.
From New Orleans voodoo queen, Marie Laveau, to Marie Antoinette, and everything in between.
Each queen is paired with a cocktail recipe that will totally get you in the mood to hear the fun, dramatic, and juicy stories of fascinating women from history.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Cheers!
Have you ever wondered how inbred the Habsburgs really were? What women in the past used for birth control? Or what Queen Victoria's 9 children got up to? On the History Tea Time podcast, I profile remarkable queens and LGBTQ+ royals, explore royal family trees, and delve into women's medical history and other fascinating topics. Join me every Tuesday for History Tea Time, wherever fine podcasts are enjoyed.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neal, and Jeff. This is Triviality.
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge. My name is Neal. I'm here with Jeff and Ken. How are you?
Welcome back, Neal.
Good. As you can maybe hear from Neal's voice, he's a little under the weather, so I don't know why we let him kick this one off, but glad to have you here.
Well, thank you.
It's in his contract that he starts the podcast.
That's true.
He's the leader, apparently.
It's in the rider,
are you
along
the
with
leader
the
of
M&Ms.
the podcast?
It comes with no benefits, but he's the leader.
I'm the leader, but it's L-A-T-E-R.
We know that you're de facto the leader. Like, as far as our business is concerned, there is no leader. But we know what people think.
Yeah, you're our podcast.
We accept that you are the best podcast personality.
Thank you. I mean, we could see what happens if I'm the leader or not. I'll just quit, and then we'll see what happens.
Please don't.
But I was going to say, apologies to the listeners. My voice is kind of gone. You may have heard it on the Frasier bonus episode. It was probably much, much worse than this. But yeah, thank you. How was your walking the dog experience this afternoon, Jeff and Ken?
Yeah, Ken joined me for my daily dog walking. So
I have eyes
Somebody
everywhere.
Invites me to hang out with a dog and Jeff.
Right.
Then I'm going to come.
One is very, very cuddly and affectionate, and the other one's his dog.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot better, though. Ken hasn't seen him in a bit, which, I'm not trying to invite people over while he was kind of going through his puppy training and phase, but he's coming along nicely, so he's being a good boy now.
Oh, good. Well, I can't wait to meet him.
He's a very good boy.
Yes.
And Matt isn't here today. He might pop in at some point, but he's on an expedition right now. He doesn't have Wi-Fi. And he's actually on an expedition to find a Ford expedition.
He's hacking through trees and shrubbery with a machete, I believe.
You're talking about the DVD of Machete, right?
Yes.
Right, yeah, just the DVD with Danny Trejo, trying to cut weeds and whatnot. But we have some special guests here today. Super excited. As we said, these last 10 episodes on our way to 300 are to celebrate our patrons, ones that have been with us the longest, and also some of our newer patrons. So I want to start with our host today. She was on the program before. We had such a great time with her. She joined Patreon in February 25th, 2020. She's an Oakland 5 supporter on Patreon, coming to us from St. Louis, Missouri. Mary Randazzo. How are you, Mary?
Hi, I'm good.
And remind everyone a little bit about yourself. Last time we saw you, we spoke a lot about your art, but we know you have a lot of other great things going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still working on the art thing, still trying to finish an art degree, which helps be productive in that sense, but everything I'm doing this semester is in ceramics, so I can't bring it home until the end of the semester.
That's fun though. Love ceramics.
Now, does your teacher instruct anyone to do the ghost ghost stuff going on?
Yeah, no, unfortunately that's throwing on the wheel is ceramics too, so I can't
that's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe one day.
Bring a mug home this semester.
Well, you're going to be our host today, so we can't wait to get to that, and thank you for writing a game. And our next guest, we saved it for 299. It is someone who is our first patron ever, joined in June 13th, 2017. We'll always be forever grateful to our friend from Houston, Texas, Savage Superstar on Patreon, David Rafetto. How are you, David?
I'm doing great, guys. It's so nice to be back. It's been a couple years since I've been on, but really a pleasure to be back. So thanks for inviting me.
Of course, you're always in our hearts, David, but it's so nice to see you in person as well. So remind folks a little bit about yourself.
Sure. From Houston, Texas, 39 years old, have a job and healthcare communications, wife, 2 kids, 2 dogs, driving across the state of Texas pretty often to chauffeur my kids to soccer games and fit in some trivia podcasts along the drives.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's just so nice, for all of us here to have David for episode 299. Pretty crazy, guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, I can still kind of remember, it's like one of those, what's the opposite of like a JFK moment, like a positive thing you remember in your life? I still kind of remember where I was when
when the man landed on the moon.
When David, yeah, exactly.
It was a KFJ moment.
Yeah. when are you talking about? Yes, Ken, Fisher, and Jeff. Got it. So
No, he just meant JFK backwards.
I know I was being funny or trying to, but I can remember where I was when David signed up. We thought for sure we would have badgered one of our friends who knew us in real life into doing it. Or Neal's mom.
She was actually the 4th Patreon.
Yeah, and we had never met David before. It was such a shock and a surprise that we had even found listeners as far away as Texas, and it's been a real pleasure. It's such an honor that you're still with us after all this time, and we really can't thank you and the rest of our patrons enough for getting us to where we are now. So.
Well, speaking of episode 300, which is next week's episode, if you haven't sent in your audio question for our 300th episode, I guess you might be able to sneak one in. David sent one in, but if you want to sneak one in, just make sure you send it in the next few days after you hear this. The link is going to be in the show notes. We're going to be doing that episode fairly live for our standards. We're not going to know any of the questions beforehand. We're going to hear them all for the first time, and we're super excited about that. So make sure to send in those questions, and if you have already, thank you very much. Ken, you're going to partner with David today, is that right?
Yeah.
Any ideas on a team name today?
Well, since David is our number 1 Patreon supporter, let's just be team number 1.
I like
you guys could be team number 2, if you know what I mean.
We know who.
We'll be team A.
We know who number 2 works for. So, are we team number 2, Jeff?
Yeah,
yes.
we'll be the number 2s.
Okay, the number 2s. Wonderful. And Mary, you are the host. Any preference on a rules read today?
Actually, yeah. I'm thinking a Dutch reading today because I actually identified a Dutch accent on somebody just because I've heard.
Was it
Dutch,
was it Dutch boy's Dutch accent? Because
I think she means the real one.
No, it was just somebody who's speaking English, and I was like, I think he's Dutch, and I was correct. So.
Very good. All right, Willem, take it away.
De regels van het spel zijn simpel. 20 vragen verdeeld over 2 rondes, waarbij elke vraag 10 punten waard is. Halverwege is er een speciale swingronde, ontworpen door de host van deze week. Na deze rondes beginnen de spelers aan de finale, met de punten die ze hebben verdiend. En hebben ze de mogelijkheid om 0 tot 30 punten in te zetten op 5 gecategoriseerde vragen. Aan het eind van het spel wordt iemand benoemd tot the cream of the crop.
You're the cream of the crop.
I don't think Dutch Boy can actually speak today because I don't think it would sound like actual Dutch Boy.
No, I don't think so.
We're not going to try
he's banned from the studio today.
Much like my pants the last time I got off a ladder, I think we should just go ahead and rip it.
There you go.
Right. Take it away.
Yeah, question 1. In round 1. Category is wait for it. An absolute star of stage and screen, this actor has played parts as varied as an evil count, an iconic straight man, a horrible doctor, and a genderqueer rock and roll singer. He also has a professed love of magic, is an amateur magician, and even served as president of the board of directors of the famous Magic Castle in Los Angeles. Who is he?
Ken, when I hear genderqueer rock and roll singer, maybe there's something there with Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was the one that jumped out to me, but maybe that's off target. I don't know.
Yeah, this person might have been in that. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure we're talking about NPH Neil Patrick Harris for this.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, now that you mention it, I do know.
I think she said something about a horrible doctor too. That points to NPH to me.
That's true. Yeah, I was a Doogie Howser fan back in the day, so I like your instincts there. Let's lock that in.
Yeah, I think the first part was a reference to How I Met Your Mother, where the character of Barney does some magic tricks because of Neil Patrick Harris's love for magic. So that's what we went with, too.
And the answer is definitely Neil Patrick Harris.
And Neil Patrick Harris did perform in Rocky Horror. It was for a special benefit concert performance for the Acting for a Cure, Komen for the Cure benefit concert.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What I was specifically referencing was his role as he starred in Hedwig and the Angry Inch when it the revival of that on the stage. So, all right, question 2. The last time I was in Chicago, Nobuo Uematsu. Oh, sorry, let me start.
Locked in.
Nobuo Uematsu, yeah.
Nobuo Uematsu is a composer who has been making video game music since 1986. In particular, he's worked on nearly every numbered installment of which series?
Yeah, we can lock in, Neil.
Yeah.
David, this is this is Final Fantasy.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I've been to the concerts too and stuff. So
yeah, this is definitely Final Fantasy.
It is definitely Final Fantasy, yes. I just literally happened to be the last time I was in Chicago was for the 35th anniversary Distant Worlds concert.
So cool.
All right, question 3, too close to home. A real headache to true crime followers. In 1982, 7 people were killed in an officially unsolved random mass murder event. The killings were carried out through unusual, though not at the time particularly difficult, means. There were many copycat attempts in the following years, several of these also ending in multiple deaths. On the positive side, the crime led to an overhaul in how certain products are packaged and improved quality control, and the specific offense was also made a federal crime. Name the city in which the original 7 murders occurred. And for 5 bonus points, name the product or brand that was the cause of death.
Okay, so something with the packaging.
Yeah, well, they have like those tamper-proof like things on containers now, right? So like if like you open a food thing that it's been opened.
Oh, like the little strip
like
or whatever.
Like the plastic thing on the milk carton.
Or the little button on the pickles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The pickle murders.
Do you want to say it's the milk then? Like the milk murders or something?
Sure.
Okay.
What city is that in? Because I guess
let's say Wisconsin. There's a lot of murder in Wisconsin.
Okay, that's not a city, but
we'll say Madison.
Madison, Wisconsin.
I'm not sure about the city, David, but I'm pretty sure it was aspirin. Like somebody was poisoning aspirin. Does that sound about right?
So it doesn't ring a bell to me specifically. Obviously, that's something where the lids on the bottles though have they have the tamper proof where you have to press down and turn.
Yeah.
Is this just if we go with aspirin, is this just pick a city randomly from the U.S.?
Cleveland.
Aspirin, Cleveland, locked in.
Oh, this hurts. Okay. I will say the category name Too Close to Home was for all of the Triviality hosts because it happened in Chicago.
Oh.
And unfortunately, it was Tylenol.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That makes sense, though, with them having like the foil on there now, so that you know.
It was because it was back when, and also they were capsules, not like gel caps, but like just plastic cap, or not plastic, but whatever capsules that they could either empty out the actual medication and refill it with cyanide, and then put the bottle back on the shelf, and nobody knew.
Gotcha.
All right, no points for anybody.
All right, question 4. Category is It's a Trip. Easy Rider was a landmark cultural and box office smash in 1969. It starred Jack Nicholson and was produced by Bob Rafelson and his production company. And any other movie they made should have had the same magic, right? Not really. 1 year before, the same 2 men co-wrote and co-produced What Absolute Flop, starring a made-for-TV band. The movie might have flopped, but the soundtrack album made Rolling Stone's 2013 list of 25 greatest soundtracks of all time.
I have an idea.
Okay.
All right, these guys are locked in. The only thing that's coming to mind, and it would be surprising to hear that the production team was the same as the Monkees. So I know they were kind of like created by the studio in the Hollywood Machine. So do you want to just go with that? Because I have nothing else.
So I jotted in on 2 bands. The Monkees was one of them. Certainly, I know they had a TV show that I used to watch reruns on at Nick at Night when that was a thing. I don't know if they had a feature movie made about them, but it makes sense that they would. The only other thing I had written down was the Partridge Family. I know they also had a TV show. But your first instinct was Monkees. Mine was the Monkees. Let's go with that and lock that in.
Okay.
I think it is the Monkees. And
it's the movie called like It's the Monkees.
No, it's Jeff. I know it's the Monkees. I can't remember the name of the movie. I think it's like Forehead. So we're gonna say Forehead.
I want to give you like half points. The movie is just called Head.
Oh, well, no points. That's fine.
I know.
That's okay.
But you're so close.
But it was the Monkees.
It is the Monkees.
We got the band, Ken. We got
All
the
right,
band.
Yes,
good enough for
yes.
me. Moral victory.
Close. It was close. No cigar.
Wow.
And it's a fun movie to watch. Like, it did terribly at the time because the Monkees TV show was this, pop comedy, classic. And the movie was very much like a parody of the culture at the time. It did not go over well at the time, but it's an interesting watch. And it is a great soundtrack. All right, moving on. Question 5 is my version of a listener submitted question. My cousin Will Gilbert helped me go through all of these questions on very short notice, and he gave me the last 2 to fill in my
Thank you, Will.
regular
Yeah,
game.
appreciate it.
So this
Thanks,
is
Will.
one of his. And it's just, the category is science. Made up of an anther and its filament, what is the male part of a flower called?
All right, these guys are locked. So got 2 words floating around my head. Do you have any ideas?
I probably had the same 2 words floating around in my head. I have stamen and pistil.
Shoot.
Those are creeping back from like 8th grade life science class.
I think stamen is where we want to go.
I want to say somewhere in the back of my brain, she's asking for the male part.
Yeah.
And to me, the visual of a pistol seems to be more suggestive, but for some reason I'm thinking that the answer is counterintuitive. So if you say stamen, I'm okay going with that.
All right,
too.
let's go with stamen.
And we said stamen.
And stamen is the answer.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Let's see if we can't get some separation here, I guess. As we move on to question 6, which is the sports question that I really, really struggled with because I don't know anything about sports and Matt's not here to enjoy it. So we'll see how this goes. Name the one pitcher who led all of the MLB in wins and Cy Young awards in the 1990s. Baseball writer Jason Lukart used this man's name as a term to mean throwing a complete game shutout in fewer than 100 pitches, a feat accomplished by its namesake 13 times in his career.
I'm okay with that answer, Neal.
Okay, we'll give it a shot.
David?
When I think of baseball pitchers in the 90s, I think of the dominant Atlanta Braves pitching staff.
Of course.
Which was what, right? Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz. But I don't know that any of those guys are necessarily the right answer.
Yeah, we all know
Love
that,
Greg
of
Maddux
course.
as a
Yes.
kid.
Greg Maddux is my favorite pitcher. I hope it's not him, but
Especially me. Yes, I know everything that you're talking about. So
Randy
not
Johnson
at
was
all.
around and pretty dominant at that time as well. That's an option.
He hadn't yet exploded a pigeon.
let's do the Lucky Johnson.
he had the same nickname as Ken. Ken doesn't even know. That's okay.
Let's do the Lucky Johnson, shall we?
Okay, sounds good, man.
I hope it's not Greg Maddux. He's my favorite pitcher that David mentioned. I was watching the Roland Nyan documentary, the Nolan Ryan documentary, called Facing Nolan, and I couldn't believe Nolan Ryan never won a Cy Young Award, but one of the interviewees was Roger Clemens, who won 7, and I'm just kind of playing the numbers that in the 90s Clemens had a ton, so we said Roger Clemens.
And unfortunately, it's Greg Maddux.
No way.
Oh, no.
That's disappointing.
Apparently the winningest pitcher in the 90s.
He was so good because he wasn't even that fast. He's just smart.
Control, man. Control. He could put it wherever he wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
What's Randy Johnson's nickname?
The Big Unit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neal.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm glad that, the correct answer was said, even if nobody went with it as an answer. Because, again, I have no way to gauge the difficulty of sports
That
questions.
was a great question.
Matt would
it
have
was a good
known it,
question.
certainly.
Okay. All right. Something slightly different now. Game plan. Name the board game that began as a slightly modified version of an early 20th century French game called The Attack, but in French, so L'Attaque or something. It was produced in Europe as early as 1946 and in the United States since 1961. Although there are lots of variants, the classic game is based around two armies. Most pieces have a military rank, but several important pieces do not. Winning the game often requires a good offense, effective defense, espionage, and cleverly placed demolition. Name the board game.
I think we can lock in David, if you're trusting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I trust you.
This isn't the one Kramer Newman played on a train, right?
Which one is that?
Risk.
No.
Okay.
I don't believe it's Risk. It's the Sabotage is getting me. I can see it in my head, but I feel like it starts with like an R or an S.
It's not Sabotage. That's a good name for a game.
No, that'd be great. But I don't believe it's Sabotage. I think it's called Stratego.
Oh, Stratego. I've heard that. Yeah, that's totally it because that's like the anti-risk. It's a little bit different.
I played Stratego as a young lad, not correctly, but I played it somehow, some way, and we went with Stratego.
And Stratego is the correct answer.
Yay!
My
All right.
grandparents had a copy in their house that was probably my parents', and we played it all the time as kids because Risk took too long.
Ken and I were discussing this earlier. You don't have to play games correctly. The way we probably played D&D as kids was generous. So
Very generous.
Well, it got you out of the house, and you met a Demogorgon,
and just into someone else's
got
basement.
me out of the house into Jeff's house,
Mm.
Rob's house. Oh, sorry, we don't mention that Rob played with us, right?
Oh, I don't think he cares.
He
He,
doesn't
definitely
care
doesn't
anymore.
listen to this show.
Back in high school, Rob used to say, "Don't talk about
He
it
was
at
too
school."
cool to admit he played
I'm
D&D
too
with
cool
us.
for this. Don't talk about it at school.
I'm glad times have changed though, and
And it
kids-
is now cool.
Yeah.
This one category is, I don't think Dr. Kurt Connors is one. Like many exotic pets, tegus are loved by many and are considered a dangerous invasive species by many more. South Carolina banned import and breeding of tegus in 2021, and there are nearly a dozen states where it is illegal to keep them as pets. What kind of animal is a tegu?
We can lock in.
So I don't know how specific we need to be, Jeff, but the category Kirk Connors, I believe that's the lizard from Spider-Man.
Poor Peter Parker.
So
I think that works.
Is it just lizard? We have to be more specific?
Nope. Let's say lizard.
Cool.
Yeah, we said lizard on the merits of the hint.
Oh, good. It was an effective hint then, because they are lizards.
Awesome.
They are usually described as dog-sized lizards.
Oh,
whoa!
Which makes it even more terrifying and understandable why they wouldn't want people having them as pets and then randomly letting them go.
Do you think a lizard's ever eaten its owner, like that had it as a pet?
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure there's snakes. My cousin Snake used to stretch out before big meals.
Yeah, I'm gonna stretch out.
And somebody was like, it's because he's trying to size you up.
Snake?
That's Steve the snake. I'm gonna stretch out, owner.
It's the worst
I don't
character
like that.
yet.
Gonna wrap you in my my coil.
Pass.
All right, question 9. A cornucopia of sweetness. Name the man, named Marion at birth, and he is a junior, who co-founded Death Row Records, was potentially, or at least conspiratorially, involved in the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, and is currently incarcerated until at least 2034, which will be his first chance at parole. He also played professional football for the briefest of moments. For full points, name the man. For 5 bonus points, name the team for which he played 2 whole NFL games in 1987, his entire professional career.
I know the rap producer. Jeff, do you know what team he was on?
Wait, is this correct? Do I have the first part correct?
That's correct.
And that's my guess for the team.
That makes sense. Okay, we can lock in.
Oh, I knew a thing.
All right, so these guys are locked in. Most likely with Suge Knight. Would you agree with that part?
Suge Knight, I agree, and I've got no angle on the NFL team other than just guessing a random
So
team.
since he's, I'm gonna piss a bunch of people off. Since he's kind of scummy, should we go to the Raiders? I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know anything about football. That's just my impression.
I thought you were going because the Golden Knights are in Las Vegas, and now the Raiders are in Las Vegas. Obviously, that's where you're going. But yeah, we said Suge Knight, and we said the Raiders.
Suge Knight is correct. But he his brief NFL career was with the LA Rams.
Ooh, the other LA team at the time.
So your cousin has played in the same uniform as Suge Knight.
Wow. That's never been mentioned on the show publicly before, so I don't know if I'm okay with that. I'm just kidding.
Hasn't it?
Edit it out?
Oh, yeah. I thought we have talked about
That
it.
your cousin won the Super Bowl single-handedly? Just say his name. Now everybody knows.
Oh,
What's his
Brian.
name? What's his
Brian-
phone number?
Brian
What's
Allen,
his social
shout out.
security number?
Brian Allen, shout out.
Oh, I don't know.
Great football player, great man.
He's a good guy, yeah.
Hello to the Rams locker room, who surely listens to our podcast.
Oh, absolutely, all of them. All 53 men on that team. Yeah.
All right, let's finish round one. Question 10. Category Bullwinkle calls it home away from home. Notably used in several countries, Australia among them, ranked voting or ranked choice voting is far from the norm in the United States. In fact, there are only 2 states that currently use a ranked voting system to elect national-level politicians. For 5 points each, name them. Hint, both states share an official state mammal.
Would be a lot cooler if we did, though.
Oh, I loved ranked choice voting.
Anything jumping out at you for this one?
It's not Texas.
No, I would say not. I have been
I assume you would know whether or not it was Illinois.
Have been watching the polls. But I'm not sure. She said they share the same state mammal, which is probably the moose, because we were talking about Rocky and Bullwinkle at the top, right?
That's a good point.
I would say Washington. How about Washington and Oregon? Kind of progressive type states.
Alaska also strikes me as a state that does weird stuff maybe sometimes.
Okay.
I don't know if
they definitely have moose. Let's go with Alaska then and Washington. How about that?
Okay, let's do it. Let's lock it in.
Oh, I never even thought about Alaska. I think one of them is in the Northeast. I can't remember if it's like Vermont, New Hampshire, or Maine. We went with New Hampshire, and we said Oregon for the other one.
Well, it's a good thing I said 5 points each, because there will be at least some points on the board. The answers are Alaska and Maine.
Going into the swing round, it looks like team number 2 is in number 2 with 60 points and narrowly ahead with 65 points with that bonus right there. That little pickup of Alaska is team number 1 with 65.
Very good.
Before we go to the swing round with Mary, just wanted to say we're super excited to announce that we're going to be doing Bloodsport Season 3, and it's going to be called Bloodsport Olympics. And for everyone wondering, it's going to be a competition that's a little bit bigger than we normally have done before. What we're going to do is we're going to have 32 competitors with mini games, eliminating them until we get to a final 8, and then those final 8 will go through a traditional Bloodsport tournament. What's different this year, though, and the reason it's called Olympics, is we're going to have someone representing 8 different sectors. So we're going to have a Midwest competitor, South competitor, East Coast, West Coast, and then an Australian, Canadian, UK, and Greater Europe. So it's going to be a true sort of Olympics format for Bloodsport. Our friend Ryan Myers is going to help us again. And if you are a patron, or if you're not a patron, you can go to patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. But if you are, you will have seen a sign-up form to sign up to be on the show, and we will be announcing our competitors very soon.
Yep. So generally, regular episodes, you do not need to be a patron to appear. So if you are interested, of course, keep following us on Facebook in the crop where we put up our normal postings. But Bloodsport participation is limited to patrons only. So just a nice little thing we hope to give back to them for all they've given to us.
So a lot more bonus content for Bloodsport, but let's see which sector, which district, I guess. It's not the Hunger Games. No one's going to be killed. But
District 9.
Yeah, which sector is gonna win out. But we're super excited. It's going to be really, really fun.
All right, what do you have in store for the swing round today?
All right, so this is going to feel a little bit festive for the festive that just fast. Because I was writing these around Halloween. I decided to go with that theme for the swing round.
Cool.
Halloween's timeless. So
what I did is I went and found 12 Halloween episodes of TV shows. And I'm going to give you the title of the episode. And the episode title will not be Halloween, which lots of Halloween episodes are just called Halloween. That was an unexpected challenge. I'm going to give you the title of the episode, the year of its release, and the general... basically, this is the first tagged genre on IMDb for the show.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll need you to name the show. All of these are live action unless I specify that they're animated.
All right, so it's going to be 12 questions for 5 points apiece. Go ahead, let it rip, one after another.
All right. Number 1, The Howling Man, 1960, drama. Number 2, Twitch or Treat, 1966, comedy. Number 3, Trick or Treatment, 1982, comedy. Number 4, The Tale of the Twisted Claw, 1992, drama. Number 5, Eye of the Beholder, 1995, animated action. Number 6, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, 1996, action. Number 7, Fear Itself, 1999, action. Number 8, Curse of the Werewolf, 2002, animated adventure. Number 9, Don't Have a Cow, 2003, comedy. Number 10, The Slutty Pumpkin, 2005, comedy. Number 11, The Middle Earth Paradigm, 2007, comedy. And number 12, Trick or Treat Freak, 2017, drama.
We'll be considering these, and we'll be right back after these messages.
There are really many reasons to listen to our podcast, Big Picture Science. It's kind of a challenge to summarize them all, Molly.
Okay, here's a reason to listen to our show, Big Picture Science, because you love to be surprised by science news. We love to be surprised by science news. So, for instance, I learned on our own show that I had been driving around with precious metals in my truck before it was stolen.
That was brought up in our show about precious metals and also rare metals, like most of the things in your catalytic converter. I was surprised to learn that we may begin naming heat waves like we do hurricanes. You know, prepare yourself for heat wave Lucifer.
I don't think I can prepare myself for that.
Look, we like surprising our listeners. We like surprising ourselves by reporting new developments in science and while asking the big picture questions about why they matter and how they will affect our lives today and in the future.
Well, we can't affect lives in the past, right?
No, I guess that's a point. So the podcast is called Big Picture Science, and you can hear it wherever you get your podcasts.
We are the hosts. Seth is a scientist. I'm a science journalist, and we talk to people smarter than us. We hope you'll take a listen.
Have you ever wondered what really happened to Amelia Earhart or the lost colony of Roanoke? Do you ever find yourself scouring the internet for vicious Victorians and their murders by gaslight? Or perhaps you're just sick and tired of women being constantly misrepresented or plain lied about throughout history. If so, Join me, Katie Charlwood, history harlot and reader of books, on Who Did What Now, the history podcast that's not your history class. Part of the Airwave Media Network. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, my friends. Bye-bye. I'll be seeing you.
And we are back with our answers. We'll see how it goes. Can we get the titles one more time?
Yep. All right. Number 1 was The Howling Man.
We didn't know. We said The Twilight Zone, even though that's redundant to have a Halloween episode.
We said The Twilight Zone.
And the answer is The Twilight Zone.
All right.
Or however the...
Off to a great start.
Yeah, my falsetto's gone. I told you. I can't do it.
Number 2 is Twitch or Treat.
We didn't know. We picked a comedy from around that era, and we chose Dick Van Dyke.
Thinking of the Twitch, the main actress used to twitch her nose. We said Bewitched.
And Bewitched is correct.
What a poll.
Number 3, Trick or Treatment.
We went with the medical angle here, and we said MASH.
We also said MASH.
MASH is correct. Number 4. Now we're getting into more of the 90s and clearly more of where I was watching television. The Tale of the Twisted Claw.
We didn't know. We said Doogie Howser. Maybe you treated somebody with a twisted claw.
This is one of my favorites.
We now present to you from the Secret Society our guess of...
Midnight Society?
Yeah, the Midnight Society. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
It is Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, Neal said a lot of their episodes started with the tale of, so that was a great poll.
Yes, very good. Number 5, Eye of the Beholder.
We weren't sure, so we said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that's a good one. We guessed X-Men, the animated series.
Both good guesses. This one was actually Gargoyles.
Oh, wow. What a poll.
That was a great show.
Yeah, what a great deep cut there.
That's again, some of these may be a little bit this is basically I had to pick shows that I liked. So
I forgot about Gargoyles. It's a great show.
yeah, it is a great, it's not long. You can watch all of it. And it's all good. All right, number 6, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
You'll notice we went back-to-back Buffy on these next two because we weren't sure which one. But we were sure one of them was probably Buffy, so we said Buffy.
We also picked one for Buffy, and it was this one. So we said Buffy.
Unfortunately, Buffy did not start until 3 years after this. This one was Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh.
Number 7, Fear Itself.
Back to back, we went Buffy again.
Might be right with Buffy since you've got the time frame. This sounded to me kind of like an X-Files title, so that's what we guessed.
And this one is Buffy. This one was first season, Fear Itself.
David with the excellent strategy of spamming Buffy.
Worked out.
Well, she mentioned Mary mentioned it when we were testing her mic, so I thought
that's true.
She's got an affinity for it. It might come up.
Man,
spamming Buffy was Neal's tactic in grade school, but it did not work out.
I literally was just going to make the same joke, and that's why
Just sending letter after letter.
That's why Sarah Michelle Gellar never got back to me.
I was trying to do you the favor and save your voice.
Well, no, that's okay, and I appreciate it. And it's funny on my Spotify sometimes when I'm on a random song or whatever, I'll get Jennifer Love Hewitt's album I used to have too because I just listened to it because I liked her, not because the music was good. But that didn't work out either.
Okay, number 8, Curse of the Werewolf.
We figured there's been so many reboots of Scooby-Doo that maybe one of them was on in 2002. That kind of sounded like a title from that show, so we went with Scooby-Doo.
Neal thought that this was Wallace and Gromit.
It's close to a Wallace and Gromit title. I think that was the Were-Rabbit.
That might be the Were-Rabbit. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is Rugrats. Actually.
Oh man, that was on in 2002?
Apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, that surprised me.
That was right before they all growed up.
Nice.
Number 9 is Don't Have a Cow.
Not sure, but we guessed Scrubs.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we didn't know either. We just guessed a early 2000s comedy. We said Everybody Loves Raymond, so that Ken could do his impression. Wow.
Don't have a cow, Raymond.
Way to leave me hanging, Ken.
Raymond, don't have a cow.
This one is one where it would have been easier if I had like added a secondary tag on these. It was this is That's So Raven.
Oh, one of Ken's favorite shows.
Raven.
That'd be great. A spinoff or a what do you call it? Crossover. Everybody loves Raven. Everybody loves Raven.
Well, that was not the future that we could see. So
yeah. Wow.
Okay. Back to the ones that I think people might actually know. Number 10, The Slutty Pumpkin.
We guessed How I Met Your Mother.
Well, Ted has a way with dating in How I Met Your Mother.
It is How I Met Your Mother. Number 11, The Middle Earth Paradigm.
We put down The Big Bang Theory.
Yep, Neil knew this right away as The Big Bang Theory.
Indeed, Big Bang Theory. Number 12, Trick or Treat Freak.
We guessed Glee on this one.
Neil says Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is correct. This is another one that would have benefited from the second tag. The first was drama, the second was horror.
Yeah, I think this is the one where they dress up as Ghostbusters.
Yes, that is correct. Second season.
Oh, how the tables have turned after the swing around. It looks like team number 1 picking up 25 points, bringing their total to 90, but gaining a narrow lead, team number 2, or the number 2s, with 100.
All right. Well, then I guess let's see what happens in the second half of the game. Round 2, question 1. The Red and the White. Occurring only hours apart on the 29th and 30th of this past August, two major trucking accidents coincided in massive spills of arguably related food products. The first happened on I-80 in Vacaville, California, and it spilled more than 150,000 fruits into the road, where they were shortly crushed in traffic, creating dangerously slippery road conditions. The second crash happened on I-55 in Memphis, Tennessee, and rather than raw fruit, spilled hundreds, if not thousands, of jars of pre-made sauce into the road, creating a huge mess of sauce and broken glass. For full points, identify both lost cargoes.
Is that the red or the white?
Good reference there, Ace Ventura.
New England clam. A truckload of New England clam
chowder.
We're going to lock in. I think Neil's got it here.
Okay. So probably a red fruit and a white sauce, right? What goes well together?
When she started reading the first half of the question, I heard red and white. That made me think of wine. So I thought, oh, grapes. But then as she kept reading, I think, no, probably we have a red fruit and a white sauce. That's the way I interpreted it.
What do you think of like strawberries and marshmallow fluff?
So it's funny you said marshmallow fluff because I had that. And then I said, well, that's not, and Alfredo kind of popped around my brain too. But the fact that both of us, for whatever reason, that came from some part of our brain, I like that. It would also make for a very interesting news story without sticky stuff spread all over the road. So I like the marshmallow answer. You said strawberry for the fruit? Is that right?
Just because, like, I don't know, if I'm thinking about like making a sandwich with these things, like strawberry, like jelly, and maybe it's jelly. The strawberries come to mind because, like, if I was to make a sandwich, like peanut butter, marshmallow fluff, strawberry jam, all kind of goes in the same category to me. So I wouldn't mind going strawberry and fluff.
That sounds good. Let's lock it in.
We went the other way, I think, right?
Yeah, we kind of just kept it simple. What's red? We said tomato. That would be kind of gross to spill everywhere. And we thought what would be the funniest thing to be in the headline? We said Alfredo.
And it was, and that might help to remember that I am at least have an Italian last name. And there was a truckload of tomatoes and a truckload of Alfredo sauce.
Tomatoes and Alfredos.
And I believe
this guy with an Italian last name did not get there.
Same.
Oh, that's true.
That is funny. I hadn't thought about that. I believe the tomatoes were actually like the processing kind of tomatoes that would have been turned into sauce as opposed to sold in the store. So, all right, question 2. What's in a name? Now the largest tabletop game convention in North America, with more than 50,000 attendees this year, Gen Con was established in 1968 by Gary Gygax. Held in Indianapolis since 2003, Gen Con has had several homes in previous decades. But in what city, also home to Gygax's grave, were the first 10 Gen Cons held?
Should we roll a dice to decide?
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah, I know where the company's headquartered now, so we're just going to take a guess.
David, I think Gary Gygax was like from somewhere around here, Midwest for sure. So maybe he's buried around here, and the Gen Con might have started around here. What do you think of that?
Don't know where he's from. Don't know where he's buried.
Let's say
his legacy, certainly.
Say like something. I don't know why, but I want to say like Lake Geneva. It's crazy, but that's what I want to say.
Let's say it.
I think maybe he had a house there one time.
What a twist if David was like, I know where he's buried, but I can't tell you where it is.
I was curious, so I looked up his page. We guessed Seattle, but
Gen Con is called Gen Con because it was the first one was held and started in Lake Geneva.
Wow.
He was born in Chicago, Illinois, and he passed away in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
What a poll.
Let me get that nerd card officially stamped.
Well
Get
done.
it branded into your skin.
All right. Question 3. A rock and a Radiohead place. The Eads Bridge in St. Louis has been in use since it was completed in 1874. It was the first of its design and the first bridge to span the wider, more dangerous waters of the Mississippi. Workers had to drill down over 100 feet below the water level to place support pillars on bedrock, and decompression sickness was a clear and constant danger, so prevalent that this construction project is most likely the origin of the colloquial name for this illness. What is DCS more commonly called?
Neal, I believe this is the Bends.
The Bends?
Yes. Does that sound familiar to you? The Bends?
Like BENDS?
Yes, I believe so.
BENDZ is
like the Radiohead album.
Like when Neal's cruising in his Lolo, the Bends.
Yeah, I like the Bends.
Yeah, we said the same.
It is the Bends. I found this fascinating because the Eads Bridge is so strange. It's so everyday in St. Louis, but it's clearly it's more than 100 years old, closer to 150 years old, and it's just still one of the major bridges that you used to cross the Mississippi in this area. All right. Question 4. A Storm and a Shady Past. One is a movie released in 1996 and nominated for 2 Academy Awards. The other is a movie released in 2005 and also nominated for 2 Academy Awards. The first film was released on VHS on October 1st, 1996, and then on DVD March 26th, 1997, and is considered to be the first DVD film release in the U.S. The second was released for home video on March 14th, 2006, in both DVD and VHS formats, and is often cited as the last major Hollywood film to have a VHS release. Name either film for full points, and both for 5 bonus points.
David, I've got a.
Yep.
I know the first part, and I've got a guess for the second part. Do you have any specific idea for the second one?
I don't on the second half. I'm trying to play off the category name and the year, but I don't have a film title jumping to me.
All right, I'll go ahead and lock in for us then.
Okay.
So Neal and I pretty quickly wrote down Twister, both of us, for the first one. I remember hearing that, and it fits with a storm. So I think we're going to go with Twister for sure.
Twister for sure.
And then looking at maybe a character with a shady past from...
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know on the second one. I'm going to have to tap on that.
Okay, but we feel confident with Twister, so...
Yep, we went with Twister, and for the second one, we're going to guess Batman Begins.
Well, full points for everyone because the answer is Twister, which is the first movie released on DVD in the U.S. The last movie released on VHS, and this is arguable, but most places will tell you it is A History of Violence.
Oh,
nice.
Great movie.
The Berg.
Yeah.
Cronenberg.
The better of the Bergs.
Oh, Cronenberg.
What do you think about that?
I think it's false. And I think we're about to have A History of Violence in the studio.
That's Edward Norton, yeah?
No. Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, question 5, and this is my second Will Gilbert question. Again, thank you, Will. Okay. Oodalali indeed. Brian Bedford was a prolific actor of stage and screen, second all-time in Tony nominations for an actor with 7. But according to his Wikipedia introduction, and my students, his most famous role is as the voice of what title character from a 1973 film? On a BuzzFeed list of hottest Disney guys, he is by far the highest ranked of his species.
That's a hilarious question, and I know it. So we're good.
So I feel like I've seen people on Twitter or TikTok talking about hot Disney characters.
Right.
And I believe the hottest one from what I...
Flick from Bug's Life.
Oh, yeah. Who was that again? What actor was that?
An ant.
No, I mean, what actor was that?
I don't know.
It wasn't Woody Allen and Ants. That definitely wasn't on the list. I think it's the fox from not Peter Pan, Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I don't know, because he's always smirking, and I feel like people like that he's smirking and they find it attractive, and even though he's a fox.
Oh, he's a fox.
Stone Cold Fox.
So that's what we're going to go with, Robin Hood.
Yeah, Oodalali makes me think of the little ditty that they sing throughout that movie. We said Robin Hood.
Robin Hood is correct, and he says he took the Oodalali indeed straight from the BuzzFeed list. But yes, it made me laugh really hard when I read it the first time, and it's like I'm using that. So definitely Robin Hood.
All right, looks like both teams picking up 40 points in the first half of the second round. Scores are going to be 130 for team number 1, and team number 2 still narrowly in the lead with 140.
How confusing.
Yes.
Indeed, I'm glad I'm not the one in charge of keeping track of those two things, or saying them out loud, considering I'm having trouble speaking. All right, question 6. Boop the Snoot. It's not a good idea to keep alligators as pets, and it's definitely a bad idea to flush pet alligators down the toilet or let them loose in random suburban lakes when they get too big. They might wind up in the sewers or exposed to toxic and or transformative substances. That's what happened to Leatherhead in at least a couple versions of his backstory. Leatherhead is most often a villain in what comic book and cartoon universe?
I guess we're going to have to just tap out on this one.
Not even going to guess?
We can go with your guess.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
Or no, well, we think the Oop the Snoot is from Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, one of his catchphrases. And they dressed up like Batman in Mallrats, so we said Batman.
Ah.
Okay. David, anything jumping out at you?
A couple things. When she first started reading the question, I thought Killer Croc, but that fits the comic and animated, but
it's Batman,
specifically
right?
On alligators, yeah, not on crocodiles. So a little bit of game theory here, if you'll allow.
I'll allow it.
Earlier, Mary showed us a certain tattoo of a certain Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and the question mentioned comics and animated, which that's a check mark for.
I was thinking the exact same thing, David. So let's go.
And also, right, flushing in sewers. He's down there with them. They run into each other.
And I think I remember fighting him in many of the video games too. So we'll go with TMNT.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the answer.
It's a shame you guys put TMNT for not the correct answer.
Wow.
That's why I was on the tip of my tongue.
And unfortunately, Boop the Snoot was just I was listening to specifically that came from the podcast where that was about alligators, and she said that the alligator scientist said that as long as you poke them in the snout, they open their mouth. Like anything, all you have to do to get them to open their mouth is literally boop them in the snoot, and they open their mouths. I just thought that was adorable. So
Sorry, I have to look up Jay's catchphrase now because that's what I thought it was.
So next time I'm in a death roll with an alligator, I just got to boop the snoot.
All right. Question 7. Whitey Ford sings the birthday song? As ubiquitous as it seems now, Google hasn't been around forever. It hasn't even been around as long as the internet. How old is Google?
Yeah, I've got a rough guess. We might be within a year or two, but we think we're close.
So I would say I first have recollection of Google around like 99 or 2000. So do you want to say like 23 years old?
Because I feel like it would have existed before we had recollection of it also. But like I remember once upon a time, Yahoo was my preferred search engine.
Yeah.
And then
like when Google came on the scene, it was like, oh, you're one of those weird Google people.
That's right. I feel like it's a little earlier than you said 99. Is that right?
Yeah.
I feel
we
like
go
it's
earlier.
a little bit. Yeah. Let's
25.
Let's say 25 years. Yep. And that would make it a nice anniversary reason to ask the question too. Let's say 25 years.
We also said 25 years.
All right. Both of you are going to get points because I have it written down here within a 10% range. I just didn't say that part out loud, so sorry. But Google, along with Whitey Ford Sings the Blues, both came out in 1998, so they're 24. But everybody gets points. Yeah. All right. So question 8. The picture of history. Despite its name, this important historical artifact is actually composed of images embroidered onto cloth rather than woven into the cloth. And it was probably made in England, but it does show the events of the Battle of Hastings from the Norman point of view. This 11th century work of art is more than 224 feet long and is so visually inspiring that it has appeared in the title or end credits of many films, including Bedknobs and Broomsticks and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. What is it called?
David, I'm kind of piecing together kind of what she's referring to, but I have no name coming into mind. So do you just want to lock something in? Your best guess?
Yeah, I've got I'm in the same situation as you. I've got what I think maybe is an accurate visualization, but no official name for it. So I will lock something in that is very made up.
Okay.
Jeff, you seem to have some sort of inkling on this one.
I'm pretty sure it's a tapestry. It's the something tapestry.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Tapestry.
I feel like they parodied this in an episode of Futurama with like arachnid alien invasions. I think it's the Bayou tapestry.
Born on the Bayou.
How does that sound to you?
That sounds right. I'm assuming it's probably not spelled like Bayou, but
I don't believe so.
If it's French, probably like EUX or something. But yeah, that's good with me. It sounds like a very fine tapestry.
Do you remember when our friend said, "Quick, give him CCR"? Born on a Bayou. A little pump in the chest. Yeah. What'd you say? The tablecloth of Winchester or what?
We locked in with a very official sounding Tapestry of Britannia.
Ooh. I like that.
Yes. And like I said, it is kind of counterintuitive too, because it's not actually a tapestry if you're being technical about it. And it is named after the French city of Bayeux because it's from the Norman perspective, despite being made in England. It is the Bayeux tapestry.
Nice, Jeff.
Great job.
And it is spelled Bayeux. So
yeah.
All right. Question 9. Geography. The name of this country can be literally translated as borderland, which is why it was one of the few countries to often have the article "the" before its name in English. It's more natural in English to say the borderland rather than just borderland. However, since the country declared its independence in 1991, the country's official position is that the definite article is incorrect, both grammatically and politically, as it implies disregard for the country's sovereignty, something they are determined to keep.
I think we lock in here, David.
Is this maybe Ukraine?
Oh, it could be. Yeah.
They're very much intent on keeping their sovereignty. They separated from the USSR in 1991.
That's good logic there.
It's somewhere in that former Soviet bloc, I want to say.
Okay. I like that.
Poland? No, we're just going to go with Ukraine and see what happens.
Okay. David, I agree with them. There's a big ado about whether to say the Ukraine or Ukraine, and currently we're going with Ukraine. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. Also, if you'll note in the background behind Mary, there is a sunflower with a certain flag. So that may or may not be coincidence based on her smile. I'm guessing not.
All right, Ukraine.
Yes, the answer is Ukraine. All right, question 10. Before they did Iron Man, Stephen King has written a lot of books and short stories, and there have been many attempts at film adaptations, a few decent movies, several good miniseries, and lots of bad movies. But all of those adaptations were in the hands of others. Stephen King himself has only directed one movie, and it is objectively terrible, but fun to watch. Starring Emilio Estevez and featuring a soundtrack mostly written by AC/DC, name the directorial debut and finale of Stephen King.
You could have stopped way earlier, right, Neal?
That's right.
We're going to go with Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, we agree.
Maximum Overdrive is correct.
Have you ever seen this, David?
I've not. Is that the one with like the runaway truck or something?
Yes, the trucks come to
the
life.
Truck and the
and
one of them is based on the Green Goblin, and it is a fantastic mess. And Stephen King himself has said that that was in his full of coke and not knowing what he was doing on a daily basis. Period. So but it's great.
After regulation, both teams picking up 40 more points, bringing the totals to team number 1, 170, and the number 2s with 180.
All right. Again, there's a slight theme to these final 5 categories. I was, like I said, beginning to write these questions around Halloween. And I went to several concerts right before Halloween, and these are all kind of in that theme. It won't really help you with the questions, just so you know. But your categories are ninjas, skeletons on parade, cherries, pterodactyls, and Ludo.
All right, both teams have decided to go all in on the final round questions, so it's all going to ride on this. Let's have the questions.
All right, starting with ninjas. The classical image of the ninja is dressed all in black, but historically speaking, this probably didn't happen. Dressing as a common civilian is a much more effective way to blend into the background. Unless you are a puppeteer trying to disappear behind your puppets and props, as happened in Bunraku Theater. The early drawings of black-clad ninjas may have been borrowing this artistic sense of invisibility. Bunraku is one of several traditional forms of Japanese theater. Name one of the others. Skeletons on Parade. An iconic stop-motion animation sequence is the fantastic skeleton fight sequence produced by Ray Harryhausen for what film? The skeletons are grown from planted hydra's teeth, a slightly different take on the traditional Greek myth on which the film is based. Cherries. Although there are dozens of types of cherry, and even more cultivars within those types, which is the most produced variety of sweet cherry in the United States? Pterodactyls. Pterodactyls are extinct flying reptiles, and technically not dinosaurs. Pterodactyl also specifically refers to one species of pterosaur. The scientific name of the species is Pterodactylus antiquus. Antiquus from the Latin meaning, well, old, and pterodactylus from 2 Greek words meaning what? It might help if you know something about helicopters, bats, or certain cats. And Ludo. Ludo is many things. A board game, the name of a character in Jim Henson's The Labyrinth, a band named after the character in The Labyrinth, and many more. Ludo is also a revelatory plot point in the beginning of Ernest Cline's 2011 debut novel, when the main character realizes the word has more than one meaning and is able to make real progress in his oological quest for the first time. Name the book.
All right, those are the questions. We'll be back with our answers after this break.
If you enjoy bizarre true stories, then the Useless Information Podcast is the podcast for you. For example, did you know that author Robert Louis Stevenson gave his birthday away? Or that there was a football team that played for 6 years before someone realized that the school never ever existed? Or that a dog in upstate New York was once placed on trial for murder? Well, to hear these and hundreds of additional fascinating true stories from the flip side history, be sure to check out the Useless Information Podcast. That's the Useless Information Podcast, podcasting worldwide since 2008 and available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. Be sure to check it out.
All the answers are now locked in, so let's have the questions one more time, and we'll see how we did.
Ninjas. The classical image of the ninja all dressed in black is probably inaccurate and based more likely on traditional Japanese puppet theater. What is another traditional form of Japanese theater?
David?
I have a Hanya mask tattoo, and I know that those originate in Japanese no theater, N-O-H, so we are going with no theater.
Cool.
That's one I just learned. I think Neal and I went with the classic kabuki.
Yep.
Both are correct answers. There is also a yosei, which is more of a spoken drama, but all of those are correct answers. Skeletons on Parade. What movie had the Ray Harryhausen iconic stop-motion animated sequence of skeletons in a fight?
We said Jason and the Argonauts.
Yep, we said Jason and the Argonauts.
Jason and the Argonauts is correct. And to be fair, to me, this is one scene that I know the scene off the top of my head, and for the life of me, I thought it was in Clash of the Titans. But no, it's not. It's Jason and the Argonauts. Cherries. Although there are dozens of types of cherry, what is the most produced variety of sweet cherry in the United States?
I hear sweet cherry. I think of maraschino. We locked in with maraschino cherry.
Yep, the one that I get in my sundae every time. We said maraschino.
So the correct answer is Bing. Bing cherries are the ones you see most often for sale in stores for eating as whole cherries. I'm not sure where maraschinos fall on that, but Bing is...
I think they're up there,
yeah.
but...
All right, pterodactyls. Pterodactyls are not dinosaurs, but they are very cool. Their name comes from the Greek, ptero and dactyl, and what do those two words mean?
Kind of had to guess on these a little bit. We thought one was most likely thumb, and the ptero was throwing us off, but we went with wing.
Yeah, we agree. We think it means wing, but I think it means winged fingers.
It does mean wing finger. Dactyl is specifically refers to finger. The fun thing about helicopter is the way that word breaks down. It breaks down into helico, meaning spiral, and pter, meaning wing. So that is a helicopter is a spiral wing.
Spiral.
Yeah, and bats, their genus, I guess, or is Chiroptidae, which means hand wing. So, but that's, yes. Anyway, that's just fun facts for me. But yes, wing and finger are correct answers. Things that are fun.
You came to the right place to nerd out. So,
and finally, Ludo. It is many things, and most notably the band in which I went to go see 3 times before Halloween at their Halloween shows in St. Louis.
They have the best fans.
They do, in fact. And all of the categories for this round were based on things related to Ludo and Ludo fandom. But
what? No question about Lake Pontchartrain? Fine.
I mean,
I
that
love
is
Lake Pontchartrain
one of my favorite songs
in Louisiana.
But this question had to do with Ernest Cline's 2011 debut novel, and an oological quest. What was the book?
We said Ready Player One.
And for the game, we too said Ready Player One.
And Ready Player One is correct.
All the scores are in. It looks like team number 1, unfortunately, will not remain number 1. They picked up 30 points, bringing their total to 200 even. And with 270 points, today's cream of the crop is the number 2s.
Crop rules everything around me.
Good job, guys. Close game all around, and a lot of fun. Great questions, too. So thank you for that, Mary.
I'm glad that we enjoyed them. Like I said, this was very much a scrambling to write questions in a short amount of time, so I'm glad it worked out.
No, they turned out great. And please give your final shout-outs for the episode before we have to say goodbye.
Yeah, I guess since I haven't thought about this more, I'm just going to once again shout out Will Gilbert, who helped me so much with this game and is going through a really hard time right now due to things way beyond anybody's control, and some really tragic events here in St. Louis. So just really shout out to all teachers, all students, and just hopefully one day all kids can feel safe in schools again.
Very good. Thank you. And we'll say goodbye to David as well. Any final shout outs for you?
Thanks to my wife for keeping the dogs and the children quiet so we could record the episode. And I would just encourage listeners, if you like the show as much as I do, lots of laughs, learning a lot, I encourage you to join me and become a patron.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we can't thank you both enough for your ongoing support. And as always, want to remind everybody this is an Airwave production where you can find other great podcasts such as Fork in the Road, Queen's Podcast, and a little old podcast called Good Job Brain that you people might have heard of. And that will be it for today's episode. For David, Mary, Jeff, Neal, Matt in the Ether, and myself, Ken, that was Triviality.